I didn't notice the woman at first. If you'd asked me to pick the moment when everything went wrong, I'd probably say it was the day I moved into the building. But the truth is, I didn't really see her until a week later, even though she was there, living right across the hall from me. The building was old, but not charming old. Just tired. Yellowed paint, cracked tiles in the lobby, elevator that made a strained wheezing noise when it moved. It was cheaper than anything else I could find close to work, and I told myself I didn't need much. Just a quiet place, my own space. I moved in on a Thursday. 3rd floor, Unit 3B. The woman lived in 3A. I saw her door, but I didn't see her. Her door was the only one on the floor with no name tag or paper taped to it. Just a brass number that had been polished more recently than the rest of the metal in the building. The wood around the handle was scratched, like someone with shaky hands had tried to unlock it in a hurry. I noticed that. I remember running my fingers over the scratches as I carried my first box in and thinking, someone had a bad night here. I met her the next Tuesday. I was late for work. My phone alarm hadn't gone off. My fault. I'd set it for PM instead of AM. And when I finally woke up, the light coming in through the thin curtains was too bright already. I jumped up, swore, got dressed half inside out and grabbed my bag. The hallway outside my door smelled like bleach and something sweet. There was a cleaning cart parked near the stairs, but no cleaner in sight. The building always smelled faintly like old dust and cooking, so the fresh bleach bothered me. It felt wrong, like someone had tried to erase something. I hit the elevator button, but the little red light didn't come on. Of course it was out again. I sighed and turned toward the stairs. That's when her door opened behind me. "Excuse me," she said. I turned around, and there she was, half in shadow, holding her door just halfway open like she didn't want to show too much of her apartment. She was normal. That was my first impression. Dark hair pulled into a loose knot, a gray sweater, black leggings, bare feet. Skin maybe a little too pale, but I figured she just didn't go out much. Her eyes were a strange shade, though. Brown but flat, like the color of dried leaves. I remember that clearly. "Yeah," I said. "You're new, right?" she asked. Her voice was soft. No accent I could place, just slightly too clear in the quiet hallway. "Yeah, just moved in. I'm in 3B. I pointed at my door like she needed me to prove it. "I know," she said, smiling. "I heard you. I was going to come say hello, but you sounded tired." Tired? I'd been swearing at a wardrobe I couldn't assemble and dropping tools. I didn't know how tired sounded through a wall, but whatever. "Oh, sorry if I was loud." "It's fine." She smiled again, but the smile felt like it had been placed on her face instead of growing there. "I'm Anna." "Mark," I said. She looked at my bag. "You're late." It wasn't a question. She just stated it like a fact, like she knew what my normal schedule was. "Yeah, I overslept," I said. I tried to laugh it off. "You should be careful," she said. Her head tilted a little to the side, just a bit too far. "Things happen when you're late." Something in the hallway light flickered. My skin crawled, but I told myself it was just what she said. Probably she meant things like getting fired or missing the bus. "Okay," I said. I'll Keep that in mind." She watched me for a second too long. Then her smile widened in a way that didn't touch her eyes. "You will," she said. Then she closed the door. It didn't become obvious right away. For the first few days, I just thought she was a little strange. Quiet. I'd hear soft footsteps sometimes in the hallway late at night. And when I'd peek out through my peephole, her door would be open just a crack, like she'd been watching and moved away a second too late. I never saw anyone else go in or out. No friends, no family, no groceries. I didn't see a delivery driver knock on her door. I didn't see bags in her hands, or a purse, or keys on a lanyard. The weird thing was, I never heard her lock the door either. I heard the other neighbors, the quick rattle of keys, the thunk of deadbolts. But with Anna, the door would just open, and then later it would be closed. It was stupid stuff, little details, the kind you shrug off. I shrugged them off. I worked in an office doing boring insurance data entry, spent my evenings eating frozen meals and scrolling my phone, telling myself I'd explore the neighborhood soon. The building grew familiar, the noise of pipes at night, someone's TV on the second floor, a baby crying, the smell of cigarettes sneaking in from someone's open window, and the smell of bleach once a week, always on Tuesdays. The cleaners were supposed to come on Fridays, according to the paperwork I'd signed. But on Tuesdays, the hallway would reek of bleach, and the cleaning cart would stand there alone. I never saw anyone push it. It would just appear and disappear, like a prop someone moved between scenes. I told myself it was just a weird scheduling thing. Maybe they came twice a week now. Maybe I was overthinking. Then the first murder happened. I heard about it at work. It was 2 weeks after I'd met Anna. Life had settled into a pattern again. I'd started sleeping better in the new place, even if I sometimes woke up at night with the feeling that someone was standing at my door. That morning, my coworker Brenda came in late, eyes red, makeup smudged. She dropped her bag on her desk and whispered something to our supervisor about the news, and it happened near my building. I had my headphones in, filling cells with numbers, but I saw the way people started drifting toward her desk. I pulled one earbud out. "What happened?" I asked the guy next to me. "You didn't hear?" he said. "They found a body a few blocks from here. Some guy. It was bad." "How bad?" I said. He shrugged, clearly pleased at having something to share. "They're saying murder, obviously, but the way Brenda's telling it, it was messy, like someone really went at him." I thought about the word brutal, the way it gets used in movies. I didn't know what messy really meant. "Did she see it?" I asked. "Nah, just the cops and tape and all that. But apparently he lives, or lived, in her building." He glanced over. "I guess she's freaked out." I glanced at the clock, calculating how many minutes I could waste before my supervisor noticed. Curiosity won. I went over. A small cluster of people stood around Brenda's desk, speaking in low voices. "It was still dark," she was saying. "I came down and there were cops everywhere. I thought it was a gas leak or something. But then I saw the sheet. Someone muttered something about sorry, and that's awful." "I recognized his shoes," she said in a small voice. He always wore these ugly green running shoes. She swallowed. They said there was a lot of blood. Did they say what happened exactly? Someone else asked. It was the kind of question you ask when you want details, but you know you shouldn't. No. Her voice got tight. Just that it was definitely a homicide, and that nobody should go out alone at night for a while. The conversation shifted to police response times and neighborhood safety. I drifted back to my desk, put my earbud back in, but didn't hit play. A man had been murdered near my building. I should have been more shaken than I was. But it felt distant, like something from the news. When I got home that evening, the hallway smelled like bleach again. The cleaning cart stood by the stairs, closer to my door this time. A yellow mop bucket, a blue plastic bin full of rags. A long-handled squeegee leaned against the wall. The air stung my nose. I stepped around it, annoyed. As I unlocked my door, I glanced across the hall. Anna's door was open just a few inches. A strip of darkness. "Anna?" I said. The door swung wider without a sound. She stood about 2 feet back from the doorway, hands at her sides, as if she'd been waiting exactly there. No TV on behind her, no lights except the weak ceiling bulb in her hallway. "Hi, Mark," she said. I forced a chuckle. "You always stand there like that?" "Like what?" "Waiting by the door. You startled me." "I'm not waiting," she said. "I'm listening." That stuck with me. Listening made it worse somehow. Made me picture her standing there with her head slightly tilted, tracking every noise on the floor. "All right," I said slowly. "Listening to what?" Her eyes dropped to the cleaning cart. "They cleaned again," she said. "They're very busy these days." "Yeah," I said. "I noticed. I guess that's good, right? For hygiene." She didn't laugh. Her gaze stayed fixed on the mop handle, then slid to me. "Did you hear about the man?" she asked. Her voice was flat. "The one that got—" "Yeah." A cold prickle ran over my arm. "I heard." "He lived alone," she said. "Like you." I told myself it was just an observation, a badly timed comment. Still, something defensive rose in me. "Lots of people live alone," I said. "Yes," she said. "Not for long, though." I frowned. "What do you mean?" She blinked slowly, like she was trying to remember how to mimic the movement. "People disappear," she said. "They leave. They stop answering the door. Their mail piles up. Someone takes their place." She smiled, small and careful. "Maybe he moved, and nobody told the police. Maybe they got it wrong. I think they know what a dead body looks like, Anna." She tilted her head again, just a little too far. "Do they?" she asked. Something in her tone made me want to get inside my apartment and close the door quickly. I muttered something about being tired from work. Her gaze flicked to my hand on the doorknob. "You're late again," she said. "You should really stop doing that." There was no way she could know what time I usually came home. I worked 8-hour days with a flexible start time. Some nights I stayed late. Some nights I left early. I'd never told her my schedule. It was just a guess, I told myself. Still, it bothered me. "Yeah," I said. "Sure. Good night." "Good night, Mark," she said. I stepped into my apartment. As I closed the door, I heard hers click shut at the same time, like we were moving in sync. The dreams started that week. They weren't vivid in the usual sense. No monsters, no fire, no chasing. Just the hallway of our floor, stretching longer and longer, the walls breathing slowly like lungs. The carpet under my bare feet was damp, but when I looked down, it wasn't carpet anymore. It was the same rough texture as the concrete in the parking lot. In the dream, all the doors were wrong. Mine was just an outline, a rectangle drawn on the wall with a child's crayon. Anna's door was huge, towering, the ceiling warped to fit it. Sometimes it was just hanging open. Dark inside, but not empty. You know how sometimes you stand at the entrance of a dark room and you can feel the space? You can feel there's depth, shapes, objects. In the dream, there was none of that. Just a flat absence, like someone had cut that part out of reality. I would wake up after standing there for what felt like hours. No jump scare, no sudden movement. Just the feeling that if I took one more step forward, I wouldn't see myself again. I'd wake up with my heart racing anyway, staring at my ceiling, listening. I'd hear pipes, the faint hum of someone's TV below, an elevator cable groaning, a floorboard creaking in the hallway. Sometimes very softly, I heard a woman humming. I didn't tell anyone about Anna. What was I supposed to say? My neighbor is weird. She stands behind her door and says creepy things. People would have just told me to move if I was that bothered. And I wasn't. Not yet. Not enough to go through the hassle and cost again. Instead, I told myself she was lonely. Maybe she'd gone through a bad breakup. Maybe she had some kind of social anxiety and didn't know how to talk to people without sounding strange. I kept saying that to myself, even as I noticed more little things. Her door was always closed when I left for work, but when I came home, even early, like 4 p.m, it would be slightly open. Not enough to count as ajar, just enough that a sliver of hallway light cut across her floor. Once I tried to knock. I stood there, hand raised, feeling stupid. What was I going to say? "Hey, you kind of creep me out. Maybe we should get coffee." Before I could touch the wood, her voice drifted out. "It's not a good time," she said. I froze. "You heard me?" I asked. She laughed. It didn't sound right. Not fake exactly, but like she'd practiced the sound in private. "I hear you a lot, Mark," she said. "You walk loudly." There was a pause. "You talk in your sleep." I swallowed. My hand dropped to my side. "I should go," I said. "Yes," she agreed. "You should." I backed away, feeling her eyes through the door. That night, as I tried to fall asleep, every creak of the building felt like her footsteps. My own breathing sounded too loud. I slid my bed a few inches away from the wall we shared. It didn't help. I could still feel her on the other side. The second murder happened 3 days later. This time I saw part of it. Not the act itself, but enough. I'd stayed late at work to finish a report. It was full dark by the time I left the building, the streetlights casting pale cones of light on the wet pavement. It had rained while I was inside. The air was cold and smelled like exhaust and damp leaves. I cut through the side street like I often did. It shaved 5 minutes off my walk. The side street was narrow, lined with back entrances and dumpsters, the kind of place people told you not to go alone. But I'd been doing it for weeks and nothing had happened. I heard the sound before I saw anything. A wet, heavy sound, like someone dropping a sack of meat from a low height. A short, choked cry that cut off too quickly. I stopped walking. My instincts screamed, turn around, go back. But there was this other part of me that thought, absurdly, what if someone needs help? I moved forward, slower now. The alley opened up into a smaller lot behind a closed cafe. There was a dim security light above the back door, flickering. In that weak light, I saw 2 shapes on the ground, entangled. For a second, I thought it was a couple. It looked like a man on his back, someone over him. But then the shape on top moved in a way that wasn't right. Too fast, with no sense of weight shifting. The man's leg kicked once, heel scraping a sharp line across the wet asphalt. His shoe squeaked. That stupid little sound was burned into my brain. "Hey!" I shouted. It was reflex. I didn't mean to shout. The word ripped out of my throat before I could stop it. The shape on top went still. The security light flashed and flared, bright for a moment, and I saw her. It was a woman. Her hair hung in front of her face, dark and wet. Her hands were pressed flat against the man's chest like she was pinning him down. His arms were splayed at his sides, fingers curled. His eyes were open, but they didn't see me. Something dark was spreading under his head. I couldn't make sense of the woman's posture. It was like she'd been halfway through a motion when I'd caught her and then just stopped. One knee on the ground, the other leg bent, back slightly arched, head tilted down. Slowly, very slowly, she turned her head toward me. I don't know what I expected. Glowing eyes, maybe, or some monstrous face. But her face was just a face, a familiar one. "Mark," Anna said. My body went cold all at once. "What are you doing here?" she asked. Her voice sounded exactly like it did in the hallway. Calm, soft, like we'd run into each other at the grocery store. My brain tried to piece together something that made sense. Maybe she'd been mugged. Maybe she'd been attacked, and this guy. But the man on the ground wasn't holding anything. His hands were empty. His shirt was torn at the collar. There were marks on his neck, dark and smudged. I took a step back. "Anna," I said. My voice cracked. What happened?" She blinked at me slowly, like she was surprised by the question. "He surprised me," she said. I couldn't get air in. "What?" "I was walking," she went on, like she was explaining a small accident. "He followed me. He grabbed me. I didn't like it. So I stopped him." My gaze flicked down to the dark shape under his head. I tried not to look, but it was impossible not to. Is he dead?" I asked. She glanced down as if she'd forgotten to check. "Yes," she said, like she was commenting on the weather. "He broke." That was the word she used. Broke. I didn't know what to do. Call the police. That was the obvious answer. Run. That was the honest answer. "You should call someone," I stammered. We need to call. You're shaking, she said. I hadn't realized I was until she said it. My hands were trembling. My teeth wanted to chatter. It's okay, she added. You didn't do anything. You were just late again. Her lips curved. Not quite a smile. More like a memory of one. The security light flickered, dimmed, brightened. In that stuttering light, she looked wrong. Her shadow didn't line up with her, stretching out at a strange angle. Go home, Mark, she said. It's cold out. You're not dressed for this. My mind screamed no at the idea of turning my back on her. At the same time, I desperately wanted to be anywhere else. I have to call the police, I whispered. Her head tilted, that familiar too far angle. It felt like the world tilted with it. Do you? She asked. What will you tell them? I'll tell them. I stopped. The words died in my throat. What could I tell them? That I'd turned down a side street alone at night and found my strange neighbor kneeling over a dead man? That she'd told me he'd attacked her and she'd stopped him? That the expression on her face didn't fit the situation, so I thought something was off? I tried to picture myself in a police station, under bright lights. She creeps me out, doesn't go far as evidence. They usually ask why you were there, she said. Why you didn't help. Why you didn't see more. Her voice softened, almost kind. They like easy stories. He attacked me. I defended myself. You understand? I did. That was the worst part. I understood exactly how they would look at me. I understood how quickly I could go from witness to suspect in a story like this. Go home, she repeated. Take the long way. She looked back down at the man, one hand drifting to his shoulder like she was gently settling him. I'll be done here soon, she said. I turned and walked away. It felt like trying to walk through water. Every step took more effort than it should have. I kept expecting to feel a hand on the back of my neck, or fingers closing around my arm. The hair on my back prickled with that expectation, but nothing touched me. I didn't run. I don't know why. Pride, maybe. Or the sense that running would make everything worse. Better to walk, like nothing had gone wrong. I took the long way back as she'd told me. Every passing car made me flinch. I kept seeing the man's leg twitching in my mind, the way his shoe scraped on the ground. When I got to the building, the lobby was empty. The elevator doors were closed. There was no sign that anything had changed. I climbed the stairs, legs shaking, hand sliding on the rail. The hallway on our floor was quiet. My door was just where I'd left it. The only difference was Anna's door. It was closed. A faint line of shadow lay under it. No light on inside. No sound. No hint that she'd just been outside with a dead man. I fumbled my key twice before getting it into the lock. As I stepped inside, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out with numb fingers. There was a message from an unknown number. You got home in 18 minutes. That's better. See? You can learn. I stared at it, cold sweat beading on my forehead. Before I could react, another one came through. Don't worry, Mark. I'll make sure they find him. Otherwise, they might think it was you. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, fully dressed, phone in my hand, staring at the ceiling until the white turned gray with early light. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Anna in the alley, her hands flat on the man's chest, the way she'd said he broke. I thought about calling the police anonymously, just saying there was a body in that alley without giving my name. But it felt pointless. She'd already said they'd find him. And the more I replayed it in my mind, the more I convinced myself that she was right about one thing. I wouldn't sound like a good witness. I didn't get a good look. I didn't actually see her hurt him. She told me he attacked her. I left because I was scared. It all sounded pathetic. By the time my alarm went off, my mind had built a thick layer of denial over everything. Maybe I'd misread the situation. Maybe they really would call it self-defense. Maybe it had already been handled. At work, I was a zombie. Brenda watched the news on her phone during lunch, volume low. I caught a glimpse of a headline as I walked past. Another body found. Police investigate possible connection. The photo showed a strip of yellow tape across an alley. I sped up, pretending I hadn't seen it. I didn't check my phone all day. When I finally left the office, the sun was still up. The sky was pale and washed out, the air cold. I took the main streets home, hands jammed in my pockets, shoulders hunched. I tried to convince myself that when I got home, everything would be normal. Her door would be closed. No messages. No sign that the night before had happened. I was half right. Her door was closed. But there was a folded piece of paper on my doormat. For a long moment, I just stared at it. Then, very carefully, I picked it up. The paper was clean, folded neatly into quarters. No name on the outside. I unfolded it with stiff fingers. Inside, in small, careful handwriting, were 3 lines. I'm sorry you had to see that. He wasn't one of mine. Please stop walking home that way. My mouth went dry. He wasn't one of mine. I read it again and again, hoping the words would change. They didn't. I started keeping track of every strange thing after that. Before, I'd ignored them. Now I wrote them down in a cheap notebook I bought from the corner store. Cleaning cart in hallway, Tuesday, smells stronger than usual. Heard humming at 1:30. Could be TV through wall. Door crack light, even though I didn't hear it open. Note about one of mine. Petty details. Paranoid details. But once I started, I couldn't stop. I noticed patterns. The bleach smell always came stronger after some news story about a murder. Not the day of, but the day after, like the building was reacting late. If the murder happened far away, the smell was faint. If it was close, like the alley, I practically had to hold my breath on the 3rd floor. The humming through the wall followed no schedule I could figure out. Sometimes it was in the middle of the night, sometimes right before sunset. It was tuneless most of the time, just notes sliding up and down. Once, though, I recognized a lullaby my mother used to hum under her breath when she did the dishes. That one was the worst. Occasionally, objects in the hallway changed without explanation. A small crack in the wall near the fire extinguisher grew longer, then disappeared entirely. The framed emergency exit diagram on the wall outside our doors was crooked, then straight, then crooked again in the exact same angle, like time had rewound. I might have chalked it all up to stress, if not for the way Anna started talking to me. not often. She wasn't chatty. Days would go by without a word. But then we'd meet at the mailboxes or in the stairwell, and she'd drop something that lodged in my mind like a splinter. "You should eat better, Mark. Frozen food is bad for your heart." "How do you know what I eat?" I'd ask, trying to sound annoyed instead of afraid. "You throw the boxes away too loudly." She'd smile. "You could cook. You have the hands for it." "My hands? They're careful," she'd say. "Precise. You'd be good with knives." She'd say these things in the same tone people used to talk about the weather. Or we'd pass each other in the hallway, and she'd stop, head cocked. "You didn't sleep well," she'd say. "How can you tell?" I'd ask, rubbing my eyes. "I listen when you turn over," she'd answer. "You move like you're trying to climb out of something." Once she stopped me as I unlocked my door. "You should stop writing things down," she said. I froze. My fingers tightened on the key. "What?" "In your notebook," she said. "It's not helping. It just makes you more afraid." My throat went completely dry. "How do you know about that?" She looked at me like I'd asked how she knew the color of my shirt. "You leave it on the table," she said, "beside the window. You write most often after you come home, before you eat. You've been in my apartment." The words came out strangled. "No," she said. "You're careless with your curtains." For the next week, I kept my curtains closed all the time. It didn't make me feel better. It just made the apartment feel smaller. The third murder finally forced me to admit that something was very wrong. It was a woman this time, somewhere across town. I saw it on the news, couldn't avoid it. The anchor's serious face, the grainy photo of a smiling woman holding a dog. She'd been found in her apartment, door locked from the inside. There were signs of a struggle, the reporter said. The scene was described by authorities as extremely violent. I muted the TV and stared at Anna's door. We hadn't spoken in 2 days. I hadn't seen her at all. Part of me wanted to knock, confront her, ask directly. "Did you kill her? Did you kill any of them? What does one of mine mean?" Another part of me knew that there was no answer she could give that would actually help. If she said no, I wouldn't believe her. If she said yes, my thoughts spiraled. I started pacing back and forth in my small living room, tension coiled so tight in my muscles, I felt like my skin would split. The smell of bleach hit me before I heard the cart. Sharp, chemical, too strong. It seeped under my door, filling the apartment, clawing at the back of my throat. I stepped into the hallway. The cleaning cart was there again, but closer than usual, right between our doors, like it had been parked in a hurry. A dirty rag lay draped over the side of the bucket. The water in the bucket was cloudy. I listened. No humming, no footsteps, just the faint buzz of the hallway light. My gaze drifted from the cart to Anna's door. It was open. Not a crack, not a few inches. Fully open, wide, the dark inside her apartment spilling out into the hallway. "Anna?" I called. My voice bounced off the walls and died in the dark. No answer. I should have turned around. I know that. I should have gone back inside my own apartment, locked the door, and pretended I'd never seen it. I could have convinced myself it was the maintenance guy, or that she'd just gone to the laundry room. Instead, I stepped across the threshold. Her apartment was cold. Not no heating cold, but a deeper kind of chill, like the air had been drained of warmth and never refilled. The hairs on my arms rose. I stood there, letting my eyes adjust. The layout was similar to mine. Small entryway, living room straight ahead, kitchen to the left, bedroom and bathroom to the right. But where my place was cluttered with cheap furniture and scattered clothes, hers was almost empty. No couch, no TV, no pictures on the walls, just a single straight-back chair in the center of the room and a small table against the far wall. On the table sat a row of objects, spaced evenly. I moved closer, drawn and repelled at the same time. They were small personal items, all out of place. A cracked wristwatch with a worn leather band, a chipped pink lighter, a silver ring with a missing stone, a keychain shaped like a dog, a plastic transit card, a pair of glasses with one lens cracked. They didn't look like they belonged to the same person. Different styles, different levels of wear, different lives. I recognized the keychain. It was identical to the one in the news photo of the murdered woman, hanging from her dog's collar. A little cartoon dog with its tongue sticking out. My stomach lurched. I stepped back, bumping into the chair. It wobbled but didn't fall. There was a smell in here under the cold, under the bleach. Not strong, just a trace. Something like old metal and dust. Do you like them? Anna's voice came from behind me. I turned too fast, almost losing my balance. She stood just inside the doorway, hands hanging loose at her sides. She wore the same gray sweater I'd first seen her in. Her hair was down around her shoulders. Her face was blank. My voice came out hoarse. What is all this? Remembering, she said. Remembering what? I asked, though I already knew. Faces. She walked past me, moved to the table. Her fingertips hovered over the objects but didn't touch. They go away if I don't hold on to something. Names go first, then faces, then the way they sounded when they stopped moving. She glanced at me. It's frustrating. The matter-of-fact way she said it made bile rise in my throat. These people, I said. Did you kill them? She frowned like the word annoyed her. Kill, she repeated. It sounds so simple. On and off. Alive and dead. But it's not like that. She tapped the table just once. They were wrong, she said. They didn't fit. They made noise in the wrong places. They asked for things they weren't supposed to have. They pushed on the edges. She shrugged. I had to fix it. My skin felt too tight. Fix it how? I whispered. She tilted her head, thinking. Have you ever seen a cat with a broken back leg? She asked. It's still a cat, but it walks wrong. It makes you feel strange watching it. You want to look away. You want to fix it, but you can't. She smiled faintly. I can. She moved one hand in a short, sharp gesture. A quick twist. That's all it takes, she said. Pressure in the right place. Everything stops being wrong. I saw you in the alley, I said. My voice shook. He. There was so much. Words failed. My throat closed. She watched me, expression curious. He made wrong noises, she said. He touched me without asking. He thought no one would stop him. He was messy, but not mine. She took a step closer. You did the right thing, Mark. You didn't interfere. It would have been worse for you if you had. I backed away until I hit the chair again. I gripped the top of it like it was a barrier. Who are you? I asked. What are you? Her eyes sharpened at that. That's a better question, she said. Most people don't get to it. They just ask why. Okay, I said. My voice cracked on the word. What are you? She seemed to consider. Wrong, she said finally. I was wrong first. The edges didn't match. I knew it even when I was small. Everyone else moved together, breathing, blinking, laughing. I copied them, but it never felt like it fit. She looked down at her hands. Then one day I broke something that was wrong on the outside. It felt better. For a while. So I kept doing it. Her gaze passed over the items on the table. They stopped noticing what was wrong with me, she said. They were too busy looking at the broken parts I left behind. I tried to swallow. My mouth was dry. How many? I asked. How many people? She frowned again, the same annoyed look. That's not an interesting number, she said. It doesn't tell you anything useful. You're trying to make it a big, important story in your head. Don't. It's very simple. I was wrong. They went away. Now I'm here. She looked at me. And so are you. A scary thought wormed its way up through my fear. Why me? I asked. Why? This building? Why across the hall from me? Her expression smoothed out, went blank. You're careful, she said. You listen. You notice things, even when you pretend you don't. You don't look away as easily as the others. She stepped closer. You saw me in the alley and still came home. You came in here when the door was open. You're scared, but you're not screaming. That's interesting. I'm not interesting enough to kill, I blurted before I could stop myself. Her eyes widened. Then she laughed. It was the first time I'd heard her laugh without that practiced, artificial tone. It sounded real. It made my skin crawl even more. Oh, Mark, she said. If I wanted to break you, I would have done it already. It's not about that. Then what is it about? I asked. What do you want? She studied me for a long moment. You keep asking questions like there should be an answer, she said. Like there's some big reason. There isn't. I am what I am. You are what you are. We're in the same place. That's all. That's not enough, I said. She shrugged. It doesn't have to be enough. It just has to be true. Silence stretched between us. I couldn't stay in that room another second. The walls felt too close. The air felt wrong in my lungs. I need to go, I said. I want to go. She watched me calmly. All right, she said. I moved toward the door, muscles tense, ready to bolt if she made a move. She didn't. As I stepped into the hallway, she spoke again. Mark? I stopped. Don't call anyone about this, she said. They won't believe you, and they'll start asking questions I don't like. Her voice stayed soft, but there was something under it now. Something like steel. We both know you're not good at lying. My hand shook. You can't keep doing this, I said. People will notice. They already noticed, she said. They just noticed the wrong things. They're looking in the wrong places. They don't know what to see. She tilted her head. You do, though. That's why I picked this apartment. My heart hammered against my ribs. You picked it? I asked. The building, the floor, the timing, she said. They don't ask many questions if you have the deposit. I watched the listings. I waited. Her lips curved. You really think it was an accident we ended up across from each other? The hallway seemed to sway. Why me? I asked again, smaller this time. I told you, she said. You notice, and you're alone. It's easier that way. Easier for what? I whispered. She smiled. For this, she said. She closed the door slowly, leaving me standing in the bleach-scented hallway with my heart pounding. I tried to move out. I spent the rest of that day looking at listings. Every website I could find. Every building within an hour of my office. I didn't care about price anymore. I didn't care about anything except getting away from 3A. The problem was, the world doesn't rearrange itself for your fear. Everything was expensive, or already rented, or too far, or needed applications and references and time. Time I didn't have. Time I didn't want to spend sleeping in the same building as her. My lease had penalty clauses. Breaking it would cost me 3 months' rent. I did the math in my head, staring at my dwindling savings. I could do it, maybe. If I stopped eating anything but instant noodles. If my car didn't need repairs. If nothing unexpected happened. I almost laughed at the thought. Everything that was happening was unexpected. I decided to stay with a friend for a while. Not tell them everything, just say I was dealing with some noise issues at my place. I called my old college roommate, Dan. We'd kept in touch, trading memes and occasional complaints about work, but we hadn't seen each other in person for months. Yeah, you can crash on my couch, he said, without much hesitation. A few days, though, okay? My girlfriend's already mad my place looks like a bachelor cave. That's fine, I said. I just need a few nights. Cool. Bring your own pillow, though. Mine are gross. We talked a few more minutes about nothing, then hung up. I felt lighter for the first time in days. There was a way out, even if it was temporary. I started shoving clothes into a duffel bag, grabbing my toiletries, my laptop, my notebook. I didn't bother folding anything. As I zipped the bag, a soft knock sounded on my door. My stomach dropped. I stood there, hand on the bag, listening. The knock came again. Not loud, not insistent. Just a pattern of 3 gentle taps. I almost laughed at the absurdity. I'd told myself to avoid cliches, and here they were anyway. Mark? Anna's voice came through the wood. Can we talk? No, I said, before I could think. I'm busy. I know, she said. You're packing. My breath hitched. I'm not. I'm just... You're leaving, she said. You called someone. You're going to sleep somewhere else. Her tone wasn't accusing. It was calm, observational. That made it worse. I don't see how that's any of your business, I managed. There was a pause. Open the door, please, she said. No. Another pause. Longer this time. Mark, she said quietly. If I wanted to come in, the lock wouldn't stop me. I looked at my front door, at the flimsy chain, the standard deadbolt. She was right. If she'd really wanted to break the door, she could have. She hadn't needed locks to get to the woman in the apartment across town. What do you want? I asked. I want to talk, she said, about you leaving. I don't owe you an explanation, I said, surprising myself with the anger in my voice. You don't, she agreed. But I'm giving you something. It seems fair to ask for something back. My skin crawled at the idea of her giving me anything. I just need some space, I said. You scare me. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I need to get away for a bit. There was a soft sound on the other side, like she'd leaned her head against the door. I scare myself sometimes, she said. I know how I sound. I know I don't move right, talk right. I know you'd like it better if I could promise I'll stop. I can't. I know, I said. I won't hurt you, she said. That's not exactly reassuring. It's all I can say. Her voice was muffled by the wood. If you leave, I won't follow you. I won't break your friend. I won't do anything to stop you. You can go. But when you come back, it'll be worse. I closed my eyes. Why? Because you'll have spent all that time thinking about it, she said. Making me bigger in your head. Turning everything into a story. You'll see me in strangers' faces, in reflections, in the corner of your eye. You'll come back here with your fear all sharpened, and then you'll really see me. You won't be able to look away anymore. I already can't, I said. Yes, you can, she said. You're trying very hard. The notebook, the job, the calls to friends. Those are ways to not see. There was a soft sigh. If you really saw me, you wouldn't be able to keep talking like this. What do you want me to do then? I asked. Just stay here and pretend everything's normal while you keep doing whatever you're doing? No, she said. I want you to decide. Stay and see. Or leave and never come back. Don't do both. Don't hang in between. It hurts more. Her words sank into the silence of my apartment. My duffel bag sat by the couch, half full. My toothbrush stuck out of the top like a white flag. I need time to think, I said. You're always thinking, she said. That's why you're interesting. The soft pressure of her presence shifted. I pictured her straightening up. I'll go now, she said. Do what you want. Just don't lie to yourself about why you're doing it. Her footsteps moved away from the door, slow and even. I sat down on the couch, head in my hands. It would have been easy to tell myself she was manipulating me, that she wanted me to stay because she was planning something. But the thing that stuck with me wasn't her warning. It was the way she'd said I scare myself sometimes. I had the sudden, horrible thought that maybe she was telling the truth. Maybe she didn't have some big master plan. Maybe she wasn't a demon or a monster or anything with a clear mythology. Maybe she was just broken in some way I couldn't understand. A person-shaped wrongness with no fix. I thought about Dan's couch, about how I'd lie awake, staring at his ceiling, thinking about this building, about how eventually, when my boss started to ask questions, when my money ran out, when Dan's girlfriend got tired of me, I'd have to come back. In the end, I didn't leave. I unpacked my bag slowly, like I was watching someone else's hands do it. I told Dan something came up at work. I lied, badly. He didn't push. That night I heard humming through the wall, a low, wordless sound, like someone trying to remember a song they'd only heard once. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening. The murders didn't stop. They slowed down for a while, or maybe the news just focused on other things. A car crash, a political scandal, a missing child. The world doesn't revolve around one kind of horror, but every couple of weeks there'd be another story. Another body found in a locked room, another extremely violent scene, another investigation with few leads. I started recognizing details. A wristwatch mentioned in passing in an article, a pink lighter described by a neighbor, a photo of a transit card on a news site. I'd come home, open my door, and pause, knowing that if I stepped into Anna's apartment across the hall, those things would be lined up on the table. I didn't go in again. Not for a long time. We fell into a rhythm, if you can call it that. We'd pass in the hallway. Sometimes we'd nod, say nothing. Sometimes she'd make a comment about my day. "You're thinking about quitting," she'd say, and she'd be right. "You smiled at the barista this morning," she'd say, and I'd remember how the coffee shop girl's fingers brushed mine when she handed over the cup. "You almost cried in the bathroom at work," she'd say, and I'd feel exposed in a way that had nothing to do with physical danger. I stopped writing in the notebook. It felt pointless. She already knew everything. There were stretches where I could almost pretend she was just a strange neighbor, that I'd imagined the alley, that the objects on the table in her apartment were just random junk. Then something would happen to break the illusion. I'd come home and find a smear of something dark near the baseboard, half hidden by the cleaning cart. I'd hear a thump through the wall, followed by a silence that felt too thick. Once I woke up in the middle of the night and knew, with absolute certainty, that she was standing on the other side of my bedroom wall, hand pressed flat to it, listening to me breathe. I didn't move. I didn't make a sound. I just lay there, eyes wide, waiting for something to happen. Nothing did. Eventually, I fell back asleep. Over time, my fear changed shape. It stopped being sharp and panicky. It became something else. A constant low buzz in the background of everything. I got used to it. The way you get used to a bad smell if you stay in it long enough. That scared me more than anything. The night everything finally snapped started out very ordinary. I stayed late at work, as usual. My supervisor had dumped a stack of files on my desk before the weekend. I spent hours fighting the urge to slam my head against the keyboard. On the walk home, I stopped by the corner store, bought microwavable noodles and a 6-pack of cheap beer. The cashier gave me a look that said she recognized the pattern. The building lobby was quiet. The elevator for once worked without groaning. On the 3rd floor, the hallway smelled faintly of dust and something sweet. No bleach. Anna's door was closed. as was mine. I went inside, tossed my bag on the chair, kicked off my shoes. I put the noodles in the microwave, cracked open a beer, and sat down at the small table by the window. I pulled out my phone, mindlessly scrolling through nothing. My brain was still in that foggy after-work state, half numb. That's when I got the call. It wasn't from a saved contact, just a number I didn't recognize. The area code matched the city, though. Normally, I let unknown numbers go to voicemail. This time, for reasons I still don't understand, I answered. Hello? Is this Mark Davies? The voice was male, professional, a little tired. Yes, I said slowly. This is Detective Harrow with City Police, he said. We're calling about an incident that took place near your workplace several weeks ago. My stomach clenched. What incident? I asked, though I already knew. There was an attack in an alleyway behind the south entrance of the Newberry building, he said. A man was killed. We've been going through nearby CCTV footage. It appears you were in the area around the time of the incident. My mouth went dry. We're not accusing you of anything, he added quickly. We're simply hoping you might have seen or heard something that could help our investigation. I swallowed. I didn't see anything, I said. I mean, I heard something maybe. A noise. But when I got there, he was already... The lie sat heavy on my tongue. Would you be willing to come down to the station to talk? He asked. Or we could schedule a time that works for you. I don't know anything, I said. I didn't see anyone else there. That's okay, he said. Even small details are useful. The way the body was positioned, any sounds you heard, how you found him. I told you, I don't. A soft sound behind me made me turn. Anna stood just inside my open apartment door. I hadn't heard the latch, hadn't heard the knob. 1 second I was alone. The next she was there, in my space. She raised one finger to her lips. Mark, the detective said. You still there? My heart pounded with a sudden wild panic. I'll call you back, I blurted, and hung up before he could answer. My hand shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. How did you get in here? I asked. You didn't lock it, she said. You were distracted. He sounded important. That was the police, I said. My voice sounded high and thin. I know, she said. Have you been listening to my calls? I demanded, anger flaring through the fear. I listen to everything, she said simply. You know that. You can't just... I stopped, swallowed. They have footage of me near that alley. They want me to come in. Yes, she said. They do that. They like cameras. They think cameras tell the truth. They don't. They'll ask about you, I said. What if they recognize you on the footage too? They won't, she said. How can you be so sure? I asked. She took a step closer. Because they never do, she said. They never see what's in front of them, not really. They see what they expect to see. A man alone in an alley. Another statistic. Another story they already know the shape of. Her eyes flicked to the phone still clutched in my hand. Besides, she added, they're not really interested in me. They're interested in you now. My stomach turned. I didn't do anything, I said. I know, she said. But you didn't stop anything either. You walked away. You went home. You didn't call anyone. That makes them curious. I panicked. I snapped. I was scared. She nodded. That's understandable, she said. But they won't care. They'll ask why you didn't report it. Why you took the long way home. They'll wonder why you're alone. Why you moved here. Why you don't have anyone who can say where you were. I sank into the chair, legs suddenly weak. You're enjoying this, I said. Not enjoying, she said. Observing. You're under pressure. It shows what's inside. What's inside me? I asked bitterly. Fear? Cowardice? Choice, she said. You keep pretending you don't have one. I don't see a lot of choices here, I said. Talk to them and risk them thinking I did something. Don't talk to them and look even more suspicious. You're forgetting another one, she said. What? You can tell them about me. I laughed, a short, harsh sound. Right, I said. I'll just go in and tell the nice detective that my neighbor has a collection of murder trophies and can bend necks like a twist tie. Her head tilted. Twist tie, she repeated softly, like she was trying the word on for size. That's not how it feels. Anna, I said, they'll think I'm insane. Yes, she said, they will. Then why mention it? I asked. Because it's still a choice, she said. You could do it. You could stop me, or try. You could drag them up here, show them the table, the objects, the places where the bleach soaked through the carpet. You could stand in the hallway and scream. You could leave the door open and let the whole building hear you. I stared at her. You're daring me, I said. She smiled just a little. I'm reminding you you're not passive, she said. You're part of this, whether you like it or not. You always were, from the first time I heard you drop a box on the floor. You chose me, I said. Yes, she said. What if I choose you back? I asked, surprising myself. Her eyebrows rose. What do you mean? She asked. What if I don't call the detective back? I said. What if I don't bring anyone here? Ever? What if I pretend I don't know anything until I start to believe it? What if I sit in this apartment and listen to the humming and the bleach smells and do nothing? Then you'll stay, she said. And? I pressed. And you'll see, she said. I thought about that. About living like this indefinitely. About the slow, steady erosion of my sanity. It'll destroy me, I said. Yes, she said. Probably. Why do you want that? I asked. She considered. Want isn't the right word, she said. It's just true. Some things grow best in the dark. You've already started. I'm just watching. The microwave beeped, loud and jarring. I'd forgotten about the noodles. We both turned our heads toward the sound. It's a bad idea to let it sit in there, she said. It gets gummy. I barked out a laugh that bordered on hysterical. You're talking about noodles? I said. Now? People are always eating in the middle of horrible things, she said. We still have bodies. They still need fuel. She took a step back toward the door. I'll go, she said. You have a phone call to make. Or not. She slipped out as quietly as she'd come in. The door swung shut behind her with a soft click. I didn't call the detective back. For days, his missed number sat at the top of my call list, like a blinking warning light. He left a voicemail once, his tone polite but firm, asking me to come in at my earliest convenience. I listened to it 3 times, thumb hovering over the delete button. I never erased it. I just let it sit there, buried under spam calls and appointment reminders. At work, nobody mentioned the Alley case anymore. It had been replaced by other gossip, other headlines. Human attention is short. At home, things blurred. Time lost its shape. Days bled into each other. The only real markers were the bleached Tuesdays and the quiet nights when the humming came through the wall. I started talking to Anna more. It didn't happen all at once. There was no moment where I decided we were friends or anything like that. I just got tired of jumping every time I saw her. Tired of the constant tension. One evening, we found ourselves at the mailboxes at the same time. Anything good? She asked, glancing at the envelope in my hand. Bills, I said. Junk. The usual. She held up a flyer. They put one of these on my door, she said. Neighborhood watch meeting. I snorted. Are you going to go? No, she said. Are you? Definitely not, I said. We shared a look. It was almost normal. Another time we passed in the stairwell, and she nodded at the grocery bag in my hand. You bought vegetables, she said. Don't sound so surprised, I said. I can cook, you know. I told you, she said. You'd be good with knives. That's not a comforting compliment coming from you, I said. She smiled, actually smiled, and for a second her face looked almost human. The uncanny edge softened. I can be comforting, she said, if I try. I raised an eyebrow. Show me, I said. She considered, then shook her head. Not yet, she said. Sometimes she'd say something that lodged in my brain for hours. You've stopped dreaming, she remarked once, apropos of nothing, as we stood in the hallway. How do you know? I asked. You used to make noises, she said. Little ones. Now you don't. Your sleep is flat. That sounds bad, I said. It means you're tired, she said. Deep down, you're carrying too much weight. Whose fault is that? I asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she pointed at the faint lines around my eyes. You're changing, she said. You're starting to look like you live here. Don't you? I asked. Her lips twitched. In a way, she said. I wish I could say I fought her influence, that I rallied, took some brave action. The truth is, I adapted. I started leaving my door unlocked when I was home, out of a twisted sense of, what's the point? She never barged in again like she had that night, but sometimes I'd look up from my phone and see her standing in the doorway watching me. Knock, I'd say. It's open, she'd reply. That's not the point. You didn't lock it, she'd say. That's the point. We'd talk about nothing and everything. She told me small stories about people she'd known. Never the whole story, just fragments. A man who wore the same hat every day until the brim rotted, she'd say, apropos of nothing. He took it off once, and his wife didn't recognize him. A woman who forgot which apartment was hers and tried to live in 3 different ones at once, she'd say another time. She kept leaving pieces behind. Keys, socks, cups. She thought the building was stealing from her. I'd ask what happened to them. They went away, she'd say. Like everyone. I stopped asking after a while. In return, she pulled things out of me I didn't know I'd been carrying. We'd be sitting at my table, her in the only extra chair, me with a beer, and she'd say, "Tell me about your father." And somehow I would. About his drinking, about his sudden temper, about the way he'd go quiet for days instead of apologizing. "Tell me about the first thing you lied about," she'd say. And I'd remember being 8, telling my teacher I'd lost my homework when I'd just not done it, and how the lie had felt like a live thing in my mouth. She listened without interrupting, head tilted, eyes intent. "You're not boring," she said after one of these talks. "Thanks, I guess," I said. "Most people are," she said. "They think they aren't, but they are. You're not. You watch. You feel bad about the right things." "The right things?" I asked. "Like what?" "Like walking away from an alley," she said. "Like listening through a wall and still pretending you don't hear anything." "That's not exactly..." I stopped. "I don't know if those are right." "They're true," she said. "That matters more." One night, months after all this started, I woke up and knew she was in my apartment. It wasn't a sound that woke me. It was a shift in the air pressure, a subtle change in how the dark felt. When you live alone for long enough, you notice when someone else is sharing your space. I lay still, listening. Soft footsteps on the carpet. A faint creak from the kitchen. The sound of something small being placed on the table. I forced my breathing to stay even. After a few minutes, the footsteps approached the bedroom door. The door was slightly ajar, as always. I saw a shadow fall across the gap, a vertical line, then nothing. She didn't push it open. "Mark?" she whispered. "I'm awake," I said. The door swung inward, just enough for her to look in. She stood there in the dim light from the street outside, wrapped in a thin sweater. Her hair was loose, falling around her face. She looked tired for once. Not physically, just worn. "Can I come in?" she asked. It was the first time she'd ever asked. "Yeah," I said. She stepped inside and sat on the edge of the bed, near my feet. The mattress dipped slightly. She was lighter than she looked. "I brought you something," she said. My stomach twisted. "I don't want anything from that table," I said. "It's not from the table," she said. "It's from me." She held out her hand. In her palm lay a small, round object. It took me a second to recognize it. It was one of those cheap plastic capsules from a vending machine, the kind that usually holds a toy ring or a sticker. Inside it was a tiny folded piece of paper. "I remember these," I said. "From the grocery store. I used to beg my mom for quarters. Yes, she said. You'd put your hand over the slot like you were protecting it. She smiled faintly. You told your mother it was so no one else could steal the toy when it came out. But really you were scared the machine would eat your coin. How do you know that? I asked, throat tight. You told me, she said, in pieces, over time, in the way you touch things, in the way you flinch. She closed my fingers around the capsule. Open it when I leave. Is it safe? I asked. That depends on what you mean, she said. She stood up. I don't understand you, I said. You shouldn't, she said. I don't understand me either. She paused at the door. Mark? Yeah? You could still leave, she said. You haven't, but you could. I won't stop you. She smiled, but it was small and sad. I'm not a cage. I'm just a door you like to stand in front of. Before I could respond, she slipped out. I lay there for a long time, the capsule warm in my fist. Finally, I sat up and snapped it open. The piece of paper inside was folded very precisely, edges aligned. I unfolded it carefully, fingers clumsy in the dark. There was one sentence written in the same small, neat handwriting as the note she'd left on my door months ago. You haven't broken anyone yet. I stared at it. The yet sat there like a weight. I wanted to crumple the paper and throw it away. Instead, I folded it back up and put it in the drawer of my nightstand. I don't know why. If you're waiting for me to tell you there was a final confrontation, a screaming match in the hallway, a call to the police, a desperate escape, I'm going to disappoint you. That's not how this kind of horror works. It's slower than that. Quieter. It seeps in. I still live here. I still wake up in the middle of the night sometimes, certain that there's a woman standing on the other side of my bedroom wall, listening to me breathe. I still hear humming through the plaster. The murders still happen too. Not every week. Not always close by. Sometimes I'll go months without seeing a headline that makes my skin crawl. Then there'll be a story. A body found in an office. A man discovered in a locked car. A woman whose friends say she was so full of life. The article will have some small detail. A ring. A keychain. A pair of glasses. I'll look across the hall and know, without opening the door, that those things are lined up on the table. Anna and I talk less now. Or maybe we just say different things. We still pass in the hallway. You slept better, she'll say sometimes. You hummed a different tune, I'll reply. She'll tilt her head, curious. You noticed, she'll say. I don't know what I am to her. A pet project, a mirror, a test. Maybe all of the above. Sometimes I catch myself copying her, tilting my head a little too far when I listen, standing too still in the elevator, pausing outside my own door, hand on the knob, just to feel what it's like. I worry about that. I worry about the way the bleach smell doesn't bother me as much anymore. I worry about the times I catch myself thinking, when I see some awful headline about someone doing something terrible. I understand how that could happen. I haven't broken anyone. Not yet. But I understand the appeal of simple answers, of pressure in the right place, of fixing things that feel wrong. That's the real horror, I think. Not that there's something uncanny living across the hall from me. Not that she moves wrong, or talks wrong, or has a table full of trophies that could put her away for life if anyone bothered to see them. The horror is that I'm still here, that every day I wake up, make coffee, go to work, come home, nod to her in the hallway, and pretend that this is just my life now. That I look at myself in the mirror some mornings and think my eyes look a little flatter than they used to, a little less shocked by everything. The horror is that she was right. That first week I met her in the hallway. Things do happen when you're late. You come home at the wrong time. You turn down the wrong street. You look into the wrong open doorway and see a woman kneeling beside a body. And instead of calling for help, you walk away. You answer the wrong knock on your door. You pick up the wrong note on your doormat. You open the wrong plastic capsule and read the wrong sentence. You stay. You listen. You get used to it. So when people ask me, at work or at the bar or at the rare party I still attend, "Why don't you move somewhere nicer?" I shrug and say something about rent or convenience or being used to the commute. I don't tell them about the humming through the walls. I don't tell them about the table. I don't tell them about the woman across the hall whose smile never quite reaches her eyes, who knows exactly how long it takes me to walk home, who has watched me sleep through a layer of drywall for months. I don't tell them that sometimes, when I lie awake at night, I press my palm flat against the wall we share. And sometimes, I can't believe I'm admitting this, I think I feel another hand pressing back.